Hi, folks. This is Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here to a great podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here with us today. We've got an amazing show. You go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, see all the wonderful things we're doing over there. And you can also go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss to see all the authors we have over there and everything. And you can also go over to all of our groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those different places to see everything we're up to. Today, we have an amazing guest on the show. He is the CEO and founder of BlazySuzan.com. He's Will Breckell. Will, did I get your last name correctly?
Yeah. It's close enough. It's a Breakell, but yeah.
Breakell. We'll fix that in post. So, Will, thank you very much for coming on the show. Give us your bio and tell us more about you.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So I am a Virginia boy, born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia. I went to a military college, studied business and economics, and have been an entrepreneur all my life. I, was mowing lawns when I was 13, started trading stocks in college, and, basically somehow creeped into the cannabis industry back in 2013. So from there, I actually lost a bunch of money trading stocks. It turns out I was young and not maybe as ready for money as I thought I was. And so it ended up moving me out to Colorado, where I really sort of came up with the idea for Blazy Suzan and kind of fell back in love with the cannabis industry and was able to really make a place here. So, basically, college educated, been an entrepreneur, and really came and saw a niche and an opportunity out here in the cannabis space.
There you go. So what it motivated you to start this company, or what brought you into it?
Yeah. So you know what? It's funny because when people ask me this question, it's like, what's the inspiration, right? And so the inspiration really came from a messy coffee table for me. So I moved into a house. I moved in with like 4 other people. And this was in Denver, Colorado, right as legalization for recreational marijuana, basically came about. So I moved in with this house, and I was fresh out of military school. We had a rule book, this thick about what our room should look like with pictures and the whole 9 yards. So I got into this house, and I was like, wow, these guys are messy, but they smoke a ton of pot. And, it kind of came from me being high. I smoked, and then I looked at their coffee table, and I had like this epiphany. It was like, you guys need to clean this shit up, man. Like, it's really messy, and, you can have, weed is great, but, come on, like, get your coffee table in order. So literally the Blazy Suzan kind of just popped into my head, with that, and that was back in 2014. So it ended up being like 3 years later, I actually launched the business, but the name kind of stuck in my head. And the, sort of like the value proposition really jumped at me. So it was very interesting. And I think that, cannabis is a great thing to inspire people and to give people new ideas.
There you go. So what is the Blazy Suzan?
Well, that is a great question. So the Blazy Suzan is a spinning rolling tray. So it has all of your accessories on it. It has an ashtray, it has silicone, and has all kinds of spots. It's like a Swiss Army knife for your coffee table. If you smoke, if you dab, if you do concentrates, and there's so many different methods now, right? It's like back in I'm sure when you were in college, maybe, right? There were only a couple things, roll up a zigzag, right? But now there's like vape cartridges and edibles and gummies and concentrates. So there's so many products being created around the consumption. And I found there were very little products created around organization and sort of like home use. So for the Blazy Suzan, it kind of was born really out of the people in Colorado, people that, have medical cards. These are daily patients that are smoking or dabbing. They might smoke in the morning and dab at night. So they have multiple methods that they consume. And so we kind of set out to really like find the perfect solution. And that looks like, having an ashtray, having a little piece of silicone, because, it's messy, it's sticky. There's all kinds of things that you want to be able to clean easily. So that's basically the concept. And, from there, we started with one tray, and we were fortunate enough to get actually featured on CNN back in 2018 for the ball drop. So a pretty crazy sort of exposure. We had Jimmy Kimmel shout us out, and he was like, "Oh, I need one of these." And, so it was a very, very kind of interesting time when we started off back in 2018.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Now you've spread this to a lot of different products that you sell on your guys' website, right?
Yeah. So I think, ultimately when I started, right, for me, it was sort of, very like, I was working a sales job. I was working in a startup. And, for me, I was like, I don't know. I'm tired of making, 150 calls a day. I'd saved up $7,000, and which is, in hindsight is hilariously low. But I quit my job and basically started making these prototypes. And so from there, I just had the one tray, and I started really thinking of, how do we really develop a brand around this? Because, once I started making them, people liked the product, but they're like, listen, I don't think this is going to pay my bills at this point. Right. So it really led me to start, really thinking of the brand behind the tray. And that's really where we came up with Blazy Suzan as a character. So when we came up with Blazy Suzan as sort of our spokesmodel and spokesperson, from there, we sort of started really thinking of, what other products would Suzan use, right? And so that sort of led us into one of our next products, which is actually one of our most popular and probably most widely known, is our pink rolling papers. So, again, it was just sort of, I like to say high design, right? So it's like, so a lot of these things come to me when I'm high, weirdly enough. And I think I'm organized enough to really like act on those ideas, which is like, I think really kind of what separated me, I think, from the industry at the beginning was, anyone can get high and be like, oh, this would be cool, right? But, to go out and actually take the steps to really build it, I think is sort of the next challenge. But, we came up with the rolling papers, and as soon as we had the rolling papers, that was like the spark where I'm like, this could really be a real company, because, rolling papers are sold around the world. It's a multi-billion-dollar market, and we were looking for an angle that no one else was doing, which was really launching with a pink rolling paper. So, it goes along with Suzan. She's a female. There's not really a whole lot of products, and I think now there are more that we've been in the space, but, there weren't really a lot of products that were catered towards women with cannabis, right? So if you look at like the traditional sort of, cannabis culture, right? It's very sort of, male-centered, right? It's like, the Cheech and Chongs, and, not that we don't love those guys, but it's more like, hey, listen, if your grandma was going to go smoke, is she going to identify? Is she going to go in and buy the Rasta, all that kind of stuff, right? So, we really ultimately, like with our vision of our brand, it's to bring everyone together, right? And it's saying, hey, cannabis is great. We have a great time with it, but it's also medicine. And there's also things that, people really get out of it beyond, just kind of legalize it, let's just get high and sit around. And that's really what we wanted to bring out to the forefront was, we can make products that are fun and also changing the stigma of what that, cannabis user is going to look like.
And that's pretty interesting. So that's why you chose the color pink, is to give it an appeal to women users?
Yeah. So, at first it was sort of like, how do I get into this space? Right. And it's like, am I going to drop a normal, another paper like everyone else? Obviously there's so many brands that, it just kind of lays like, hey, like, why don't we try pink? And then, we were actually able to find a supplier that made pink rolling paper. And then the next step, and this is something that we're very, we pride ourselves on this, is getting the consumer feedback, getting the product into the customer's hands and really letting them tell us what they want. And in the case of the pink rolling paper, I think I only had like, 2 booklets. I was mailing like 2 little sheets of rolling papers in an envelope and a letter. And I would send them out. I sent them out to like 200 people all off Instagram, which is really where we started our whole brand and sort of the whole, movement was on Instagram. And we just had incredible reviews. And so it was like, for me at that point, I'm like, wow, I really didn't think that people would love this paper so much. We have to do this. And then, at the same time, it also makes a lot of sense for me personally because my mother's a breast cancer survivor. So it was one of those things that kind of collided at the same time. It was like,
Wow.
hey, this is a product that would be great for women. It would be great for Suzan. And also we can really bring in like an awareness aspect of, hey, this is also, we want to support breast cancer. We want, I'm not going to sit here and say that, smoking things it's not bad for you, right? Of course it is. But if you can have like, a positive message, right. And have that sort of positive communication with your community, I think it does really well. And we've been working on, giving back. Last year was actually the first year I was able to write checks to charities with profits from our company. And, since we started, that was really the goal is to give back, spread awareness, and ultimately really, work towards legalization because, when my mother was going through chemo, that was in Virginia. So for me, I was like, hey, can I get you something? Can I help you? Because I know I've heard of so many people that have positive experiences, if they can't eat, if they feel nauseous, and she just didn't want to do it because, the doctor didn't say, hey, do this. Right. And that's totally understandable. Right. Because so many people are going to also say, hey, I don't want, this could maybe interact with my medication or, they just don't know and they don't want to try it. And so for me, that's really, I think, the social barrier that I feel personally motivated to kind of knock down. And, doing it through kind of fun products is, I think, it's a very good way to, break down those boundaries and say, hey, pot's not what you think it is. It's not, you're not going to be in your basement listening to Grateful Dead, all day. And not this, I love the Grateful Dead, but, that being said, it's like, your grandmother could use this, right? But maybe she doesn't want to smoke a joint. She wants to put some cream on her elbow or on her wrist because she has arthritis. So it's really cool to be able to have this platform, I think, and really create this opportunity for, more people to come into the space and really make it their own. Because I think, earlier cannabis has really been, more on the misogynistic side, not like pointing fingers at anyone, but just generally speaking, if you look at, the ads, how people are advertising their products, it's, women in bikinis and all this sorts of stuff that, is a little off-putting, right, to a woman that might really want to be a cannabis user. So that's really a huge part of the brand.
Nice. I think that's beautiful, and it really supports women well. One of the I saw this one time. This entrepreneur woman. She she went to Home Depot. She saw all these tools that are in men's colors and kind of designed towards men. They're rugged and stuff like that. Right. And she came up with this brilliant idea to take and make tools, because a lot of women are single and maybe they want to fix stuff around the house, and she came with these pink tools and they were they were more designed towards women or more appealing to women, because the whole rugged sort of thing didn't appeal to them.
It's all yellow and
yellow and black and blue and it's kind of got different things that are kind of really manly to them, and the marketing is appealing, is targeted towards men as well. So she came up with this concept just like you did, and it's brilliant because that's something that appeals to them too. And of course the colors, I love the tray sort of concept and where people can roll right there on the tray. Is that correct?
So there's a little spot for rolling. There's a spot, for your concentrates. So it's, it's really, it's a place for everything. And in the center, actually, if you have, and this is one thing that, a lot of people requested was like, hey, what happens if you have a dog? If you have a dog and you have like a bong, right, or a glass piece, it's almost inevitable that your dog's tail has knocked that off the table or has broken something, right? So we want to stop that. We love dogs, and we want to also save the glass at the same time. So you can have your bong right in the center of it, and it's on this nice silicone pad that has a little bit of shock resistance, and it's not going to slip around on it. So it's made for if you smoke bongs, if you smoke pipes, if you roll joints, if you smoke bowls, if you smoke pens, if you do edibles. There should be a slot for you. And that's the fun thing is, creating sort of a platform that, people can reinvent in their own ways. So some people might take a hole that I thought might be for a lighter, and then they might put something completely different in it. And that's, on them. And that's perfect because we don't like to tell people what to do. We just want to give you a lot of slots and a lot of ways that you can, organize your stuff.
Do you have one handy there that you could hold up?
I do actually. Yeah. Let me just grab one. Sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, it might be good. People can see it. But yeah, I've definitely seen, especially in the old days of friends in college, where the whole coffee table has just got pot flakes all over it, and it's just you're just like, oh wow, look at that! It's quite a good size, isn't it?
So this is sort of the bare bones tray right here. So we make this all in the USA, right next door in my other office. So then we have these little silicone accessories that come with it. So this is an ashtray. I'll open this up for you, but it's basically made for, tapping out. It's got this little spike on it. And this little spike is great for clearing out like little bowls. And so actually, here's an example. So here's a pipe, right? You get the pipe very clean, which is not normal. And you can actually, when you clean it out with the ashtray, you can just tap it right in there and it cleans it out. So these are all things, these are like stoner problems that have been around for years and years and years. And, we really just set out to, figure out what those problems were and solve them. So this is another little accessory. This is pink. So this is all silicone. And this is where you can put, little bangers and stuff for concentrates, which, if you don't know like what that means, it's got some weird terms like banger, right? It's sort of an odd term. But, this is something that you would also put in the tray. And then you can kind of have both sides. So, hey, if I'm smoking on this side or you're smoking on that side, I can just spin it right over to you. You can access it from here. You don't have to reach across the table. And that's really part of the beauty of it is keeping it more organized and keeping it more accessible. Something where you don't want to feel embarrassed when your friends come over, right? You want to have your stuff out, but you don't want to be like, hey, this, like you said, like the table's covered in a thin layer of weed and whatever. So it's pretty gross. And the nice thing about the silicone and everything is you can put it in the dishwasher. Yeah. Clean it off with alcohol. And it's also one of those things too, in full transparency, some people use these better than others. So what I mean by that is like, you have those people that will go out and buy a lot of organizing stuff, but they might not even use it. Right. But the same person that might, not use that stuff, they still like it. They still feel like it helped them out. But we also have some customers that are religiously organized. And I mean, every little hole on this tray has something in it, and it's, completely packed, and they keep it flawless. So it's very cool to kind of see, people that really, believe in the concept and then maintain it, because it's just like a life jacket. If you don't wear it or, don't use it, it won't work.
And you guys also sell pre-rolled cones for people so they can have those.
Yeah, we get gift cards. These are some of the pink cones here. So there's Suzan up there. I'm sorry, my webcam's not the best here. But yeah, so the pink cones has been like one of our top sellers. And it's not a very bright pink. You can see a little bit more in person. Yeah. But these are papers. They're made in France. We use FSC certified sustainable wood sources, and the factory that we were able to work with is actually one of the largest and most advanced in the world. And a funny thing about rolling paper is that most of it is coming from just, 2 or 3 factories, right? So it's all about branding. It's all about connecting with the audience, and ultimately, maintaining your quality. So, it's not impossible to find quality paper, but it's very hard to, I think, looking at sort of more of the business side, it was very hard initially, I think, breaking into the distribution of these big distributors that are saying, I sell Zigzag and I sell Job and I sell all those, papers that have been around for hundreds of years even. And, me coming to the table with, hey, I know that there's never been a paper like this, but I think you should sell it. It's a pink rolling paper and it's sort of marketed towards women. It's funny, when I first started having those conversations, people were like, they were like, we don't want to buy that. Women don't want that. And it's like, they didn't even really care. So we really focused on social media. We focused on, influencer marketing. And, over the last 2 years, we've seen the distributors and the store owners kind of come to us and say, hey, we've been having people ask us about these. So they sort of begrudgingly, I think, made the switch. And now they're like, well, we want to sell more pink stuff. And they want to, so I think it was very cool to see the industry kind of change over and accept us as a brand. And then, the light kind of came on, like, wait a second, women are actually amazing customers. And, that's not to say that only women buy our products right now. I think it's about, 60-30, or I'm sorry, 60-40. I'm a little off there. Like 60-40, females to men. So we have tons of guys that smoke our papers. We work with a lot of rappers, surprisingly. We have fun with it. Right. So I think that's one of the things that sets us apart as a brand is that we're real cannabis people. We're not just here to sell you a widget. We enjoy the process. We enjoy creating. And, for us, it's like, hey, what do you want? How can I build you something, right? I might build you a Blazy Suzan, right, for your podcast studio that you can just, put your pens in. You can have your water in there. I think Lazy Susans are it's a fun concept, and we sort of can make them for anyone. So, we've done collaborations with alcohol brands where we make little displays for bottles and things like that. So we're all over the place. And at the same time, we're very focused on our core brand and our core audience, but we're always looking for new ways to expand because the cannabis industry is this, evolving, leviathan of an industry. And, for us as a startup, we want to try to cast as wide of a net as we can, really for staying power, right? Because certain things can always change in the market. We don't want to be too invested in one particular, product or SKU because, there's always a risk in sort of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Definitely. Most definitely. What else have we talked about with what you guys do and how you guys do it?
So I think another thing that's sort of interesting that we've done recently is actually we've started building furniture and actually building, so the tray is sort of like the first step, right? But, now we've started to actually build larger things like coffee tables that, have expandable storage that are hidden. We've actually built giant, like 10-foot weed bars for celebrities like Bella Thorne up in Hollywood, and created sort of these experiential marketing pieces around, a cannabis consumption space and what that looks like. So for us, the home is obviously the first frontier of consumption, because it's still very hard to just go out and smoke a joint on the street. So most people are doing this at their home. So we're really looking at the next wave. And actually, I'm going to be in New York this week. So we're going to some events out in New York. And that market, obviously just went legal. And you're seeing the cannabis events and the consumption lounges and really the social side of cannabis start to explode. And I think that's a very cool place to be as well in the future. Vegas also is passing laws where, Vegas, you can have, you can go into basically a bar, right? You can buy a joint at the bar and then smoke it right there. And that's very much, that's such a huge step, I think, because, they would only say, well, you can only buy an eighth and you can't smoke it anywhere, except for, maybe outside, and it's sort of illegal. So Vegas has been always sort of like, you can buy weed, but you can't smoke it on the strip. You can't do this or that. And now they're creating these lounges. They're really creating opportunities for a ton of business because, looking at tourism, looking at even people that, a lot of people can't afford legal cannabis in some of these markets because the taxes are so high, like California, for instance. The pricing is really aggressive and it's not accessible for like normal people. So if you just wanted to go into a club and buy something in a smaller portion, now that's going to be an option for you. And my personal belief is I think that the best way to do this, because obviously it's still not federally legal, but once we get to the point where it's sort of just like an alcohol model, right? Whereas hey, I buy the alcohol from a distributor, I bring it to my bar, I can sell it, I can make drinks. There's laws in place to regulate certain things, but that's, I think once the cannabis industry is in that space, it's just going to be huge, and it's going to open so many more doors, not only for like small business owners, because, a small business owner, if you don't have millions of dollars, there's no way you can start a cannabis facility right now. Mm-hmm. You need investors, you need licensing. And so it's very hard to access that. And I think that's another side of, the cannabis industry that, people talk about, but it's, the social equity side. there's still people in jail for cannabis right now. And then you've got guys taking companies public, and most of these guys are, rich white guys. Right. And it's like, that's great. And that's fine. And we knew that was going to be a part of the industry. But I think, a huge side of really what the community wants and what people that are cannabis users want is they don't want those people to run the businesses. I think ultimately that's the craziest disconnect, is because, big business for cannabis is bad for people that have, been active advocates and people that, don't want to smoke bad product that doesn't have, the same attention to detail that certain other products might have.
There you go. Well, we've kind of covered, I've been going over your website here as we've been going through the thing. You also have an affiliates program and a wholesale program. So if people are retailers, they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So we have distributors across the country, and actually we're in multiple countries now, in the UK and even Australia and New Zealand, believe it or not. But wow. If you're interested, if you're a store owner and you're listening to this, or you have a dispensary and you need some more products on the shelf, come on down to blazysuzan.com or give us a call, and we can definitely take care of you. One of the things that we really pride ourselves in is really trying to help other brands and help other businesses sell the product. Like the art of negotiation, right? It's like, I want you to come to that same conclusion with me, that yes, this is a great thing for both of us. And so it's like, if it's, hey, we can help build displays, or we can help, create marketing materials for you, as a small business, that helps us sell product, and that helps you sell product. And that's, something that we're really passionate about, is really empowering the small business owners and people that basically support us.
There you go. That's pretty amazing. Anything else you want to touch on before we go out? Anything to plug?
I would want to plug, really, I think, some of our breast cancer charities. One of them is Keep Abreast, and they are a great organization. They do stuff for awareness. So they have an app where you can screen yourself, and it's sort of like the preventative side of breast cancer. And the other charity that we really like to work with is the Lynn Foundation. And that's one that does really more focused on research. And, we worked with them last year, and we're really excited this year for October. So keep an eye on us. We're going to be doing some really big stuff in October, and really, setting out for some really awesome charity initiatives.
That'll be cool. That'll be definitely cool. So give us your .com so people can look you up on the interwebs before we go out.
Yeah. So it's www.blazysuzan, like lazy Susan with a B.com.
There you go. Well, Will, it's been wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you very much for spending time with us today and updating us on what you guys are doing. And everyone, I'm sure, will go check it out. And the beautiful thing is, it looks like it's, getting legalized everywhere, and eventually, hopefully, should become federal. So that'll be good for your business.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having us on, and yeah, take care. I appreciate it.
There you guys go. Guys, be sure to watch the video version of this at youtube.com/Chris Voss. So subscribe over there. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. See all the things we're doing over there. See all the groups we have on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places, and all that good stuff. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right.